Well, good day, everybody. Good day, and thank you for joining the inaugural launch of the OpenNTF webinar series. This is our first attempt at something like this. We, got a lot of feedback from people, and this is a result of that feedback, that you would be interested in learning from OpenNTF and from the many contributors that work with OpenNTF, people developing projects, submitting code snippets, etc. And again, this is the result of what the community is asking and wanting. So again, welcome to the webinar today. And I just want to say, in the meeting, you'll see on the right side, you'll see the ability to chat or ask questions. So we encourage you to ask any questions that you have, whether it's about what the speakers are speaking about, or just general questions that you have. We're watching that area, and there are plenty of people from OpenNTF to help answer those questions. So let's get started. Okay, just waiting for the slide to there we go. Okay. So on today's call, you're going to hear from a whole bunch of people, and I'll tell you that these people are amazing. And I'll start out with Pierre, Henrik Lausten, and you can see next to each person's name is their Twitter ID in case you're looking to follow them and learn more about them. They really tweet out some really great stuff here. So Pierre, Henrik Lausten, Serdar Basegmez, Jesse Gallagher, Peter Tanner, and Niklas Heidloff. Just want to say quickly that Pierre, Sadar, and Niklas, work with the OpenNTF board. Peter also does. Peter is the OpenNTF IP manager, and you'll hear from him later about what he does and how it can help your organization, and why having an IP policy within OpenNTF is something good for everybody. And then I think I said before, Jesse Gallagher, a member of the community. He has done some really amazing things for OpenNTF with XPages and some other things, and you'll get to hear from him as well. My name is Bruce Elgort. I'm one of the co-founders of OpenNTF, and believe it or not, OpenNTF as an open source community was originally founded in December 2001. So that makes us kind of old. I think we were kind of ahead of our time in establishing, an open source community for, Notes and Domino, when open source wasn't really, a thing. Now you have other communities such as WordPress and PHP, all these other open source communities that are very vibrant. In fact, OpenNTF is a very vibrant community, and we see tons of participation from community members, tons of downloads on our XSnippets site, which you'll learn about, and projects from OpenNTF.org and such. Again, my name is Bruce Elgort, OpenNTF co-founder, and I'm going to take you on a little overview for the next couple of minutes before we unleash Sadar Basegmez to talk about XSnippets. Okay? So just to give you a brief overview of what's going to go on over the next hour, right? I did the inaugural welcome, and the next thing I'm going to do is give you an OpenNTF overview. Sadar is going to be talking about XSnippets. Pierre is going to be talking about collaboration today and XPages.info. Niklas Heidloff is going to be talking to you about the very successful series of application development contests for developers that OpenNTF has been hosting over the last couple of years. We've had tons of support, tons of entries, and we've given out tons of prizes. And a lot of that has to do with sponsors, right? Business partners sponsoring these contests, and I'm not going to take away Niklas's thunder. He'll talk about that. Then we're going to see Jesse in action, okay, where he's going to talk about a project called Forms and Views. Then Peter is going to talk about the intellectual property policy. It sounds scary, but it's really not. And Peter is always there to help you when you have any questions about the IP policy. Hey, and then I'm going to be back at you with the Getting Engaged section. I'm going to tell you, if you don't know already, how to get engaged with OpenNTF. So I will ask in the chat, how many of you, I see a whole bunch of you that I'm not familiar with their names, how many of you are new to OpenNTF? Can you just maybe, jot that down in the chat there? Or if you've been using OpenNTF, how long have you been using it for? Let's carry on. Okay, I said this before. My name is Bruce Elgort, and I'm on Twitter at Belgort. There you go. Thanks, Slide Man. Okay. So OpenNTF has originally started off as an open source community, for Notes and Domino, right? Back in 2001. We currently have 800 plus open source projects on OpenNTF, right? Based on things like XPages, Lotus Script, Add Formulas, Connections, Java, you name it. There's tons and tons of projects out there. And code, just code. There's over 200,000 downloads a year. So whether small companies, large companies, developers, that's where that 200,000 number is coming from, people downloading stuff from OpenNTF. And then we have something called cleared releases on OpenNTF. And Peter is going to talk a little bit about that a little bit more. And I think Niklas may talk a little bit about GitHub, I think. So OpenNTF Incorporated, right? We started off as, how would you say it, as just a community-driven effort for many, many, many years. And it wasn't until 2009 where we kind of, got our act together and we formed an alliance made up of business partners, right? Business partners, IBM business partners. And we currently have 31 member companies, including, my company, OpenNTF, Pierre's company, just tons and tons of companies. In fact, they're listed, and maybe someone can put a link to that list of companies in the chat. And it's got a board of directors. It has committees, like most corporations do. And we help guide and set the course and direction for all things OpenNTF. So you want to thank all those business partners who bring you OpenNTF. And, we've evolved over the last couple of years. We've taken on things like, you may have heard of collaborationtoday.info. It's a curated news site. It's for not only Notes and Domino stuff, but it's for all things IBM Collaboration Solutions. So you may want to go check that out at collaborationtoday.info, and Pierre is going to give you a little overview of that. Then we have another site targeted at XPages developers, right? XPages.info is this mega landing page that can help you as a new developer and an experienced developer, find resources, see questions and answers being asked on StackOverflow.com related to XPages and other stuff. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel, a Facebook fan page, and now we're doing these webinars. So we hope you enjoy them, and let's continue on. We got a lot to share with you today. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Serdar Basegmez to talk about XSnippets.
Hello, everyone. This is Serdar Basegmez, and I am a board member on OpenNTF and also contributor at OpenNTF, contributor to such projects like Collaboration Today or XSnippets. I'm an IBM champion as well, and I'm doing my own business in Istanbul, Turkey. Anyway, yes, I'm going to talk about XSnippets today. XSnippets is a site we have launched more than a year ago, and its aim was replacing the code bin, the old code bin. There was a site, sub-site in the OpenNTF, if you remember, named CodeBin, which contains lots of pieces of codes from various sources that are not big enough to be a project, or that doesn't have a life cycle like an OpenNTF project. These are small pieces of codes in various languages. We needed to get it to more modern and more organized way, and we have created an XPage application named XSnippets. And so far, we had 280 snippets by 55 authors, and the current numbers show us 1,500 downloads each month, and this is a huge number, I guess. A big thanks for the community who support and use XSnippets so far. Anyway, let's talk about some features of XSnippets. It's an open source XPage application. It's a very simple, very modern, intuitive user interface. We kept user interface very simple on purpose, and we have implemented code highlighting in Domino Designer style. We have created embedding functionality. You can embed a list of snippets or individual snippets into your blog or web page. We have some social feature, rating, commenting, and tweeting, etc. And we have also included recently open support, which means that on the right-hand side you can see you can search XSnippets without going into the site, just from your browser, whichever, Mozilla Firefox or Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. And we also talk about XSnippet contests. Since last year, OpenNTF organizing XSnippet contests, and this contest is being performed. And best 4 snippets each quarter are based on factors and dollars for that is our contributors. My time for this will end of June, and don't bother. And let's talk about some progress. We are running the 1.3 version right now, and 1.4 is in progress. Probably I will finish it this week. We will implement, we will solve some compatibility problems with Domino 9, and we will have some small fixes, small enhancements, and we also like to have feature snippets feature. This will actually, we are already scoring snippets for every contest. So we also want to mark featured snippets so we can present high quality snippets to the visitor. And we will release the 1.4 into OpenNTF project release and also GitHub. We have some future enhancements in plan for version 2. We will probably improve REST API to provide more commands, more data integrations features, and we are planning a UI change, One UI, next One UI, or maybe Bootstrap. We didn't decide yet. And we want better integration with social networks like Twitter or Facebook. And that's all for me. Now I'm handing over to Pierre.
Yes, thank you, Sadar. So my name is Pierre Henrik Lausten. I am from Denmark, and I have my own one-man company called PHL Consult, where I work on web applications primarily based on Domino and XPages. I'm also the lead developer on a web application for quality management called Sherlock Web. I am chairman of the board at Notesnet.dk, which is a group of independent consultants here based in Denmark. I'm a member of the board at DanNotes, which is the Danish user group focusing on IBM products. I'm a 2013 IBM champion, and also, as mentioned by Bruce, I am part of the board of OpenNTF. So I'm going to talk about collaboration today, which Bruce mentioned earlier. Collaboration today is a news site, what we call a curated news site, that covers IBM Collaboration Solutions products. So it is a site of interest to people or professionals working on IBM products, part of that portfolio. It's available at collaborationtoday.info and also on Twitter as @collab2day with the number 2 as part of the Today name. The purpose of Collaboration Today is one page back, please. Is to we have curators that add stories to the site and add stories to different categories of the site. And if you are interested in following Collaboration Today, you can, of course, follow the site itself, but you can also follow the stories on the site using feeds. We have feeds for recent stories, popular stories, editors' picks, etc., and also feeds for the individual categories on the site. So, for instance, you can follow stories on social business or stories on XPages, etc. And if you're really keen and want to add the Collaboration Today stories to your own site, we have a widget for embedding the stories to your site and also a REST API for accessing the content of the site. Okay. So let's look at the technical side of Collaboration Today. The site itself was created by what we call a virtual team of several developers during the summer of last year, August, September. Ruth was part of the team, I was part of the team, and Sadar and Jesse, Niklas, and then also Frank van der Linden. And we established the site, or created the site using XPages, so the site runs on IBM Domino and on IBM XWork server. And the site has several nice features, such as being accessible from any device. So you can access the site from your mobile phone or from your tablet or from your desktop machine or PC. And the content of the site itself will adapt to your device because it uses responsive web design. The user interface for the site is based on the popular responsive web design user interface called Twitter Bootstrap. And in the backend part of the site, we have several other interesting features, such as beans that cache everything on the site. So all the content on the site is cached in memory. So we don't do any lookups when you access the site. Only when we add new content to the site, we will update the cache. And Collaboration Today is, of course, open source and available for download at OpenNTF.org. And the source code itself is available on GitHub as part of the OpenNTF company profile. Next, I'm going to tell you about XPages.info. XPages.info is a site also an offering from OpenNTF that covers all things XPages. So on XPages.info, you can find the front page, or actually the front page of XPages.info covers XPages news stories, which actually are taken from Collaboration Today by using the XPages feed from that site. And if we go through different parts of the site, we have a Getting Started page that has links to the free download of the IBM Domino Designer, and also links to resources that can help you get started with XPages. On the download page, we have links to all 4 OpenNTF Development Contest contributions. So that page has presentations and videos of all the contributions that has been submitted to the OpenNTF Development Contests. So and they are all open source and available for you to look at if you're interested in seeing what or how that was built, and also, of course, to use directly on your site. The demos page has links to actual demos of XPages applications, and those demos are hosted on the OpenNTF demo server. And if you go to the OpenNTF demo server, you can on the front page of that demo server, which is called dev.opentf.org, you can access the XPages demo application and see examples of features that you can add using XPages. The resources page of XPages.info has links to books and wikis, documentation, etc., podcasts, blogs, commercial training, and also free training and free services that can help you with your XPages work. And then we have a videos page that covers free videos, for instance, Notes in 9 videos that has lots of content on XPages, and also videos that describes different OpenNTF projects. And finally, we have a Stack Overflow tab. And Stack Overflow is a question and answer site available on stackoverflow.com where you can ask and also answer questions on anything related to programming. And on Stack Overflow, there's a very active community on XPages. So if you have any questions or would like to help other people who have questions on XPages, you can go to that site for great content. Okay?
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Pierre.
Welcome.
So, my name is Niklas Heidloff. I'm going to talk now about the OpenNTF Contest. I work for IBM, and I'm the app dev community advocate. I'm also deeply involved in OpenNTF, and I'm the technical committee chair, and I'm also one of the directors in the board of directors. I also have my personal website, heidloff.net, where I talk a lot about ICS app dev, which is not directly related to OpenNTF. So since 2011, OpenNTF has hosted a couple of really successful development contests. In the first 2 years, so 2011 and 2012, we had 4 contests with 125 submissions. And these submissions have been contributed by 100 developers, and maybe even more importantly than that, by 48 people who had never contributed to OpenNTF before. And I think these are great numbers because, as in every community, the majority of people are consumers, and getting 48 people in 2 years to contribute for the first time, I think is a huge success. But it's not only the quantity of these submissions and people, more importantly, it's the quality. Especially in the last 2 contests last year, we've seen many high-quality XPages controls or even full-blown XPages applications. So, a lot of great contributions to the community. Now, we have to thank our sponsors. The first 3 contests have been sponsored by We4IT. The last one, the 4th one, has been sponsored by Hidasoft. And that's why and how we can give out these great prizes. So in 2011, we had up to $2,500 per contest. Last year, we doubled that and could offer $5,000. And this year, we even doubled it again and can now offer up to $10,000. And we are actually, we just launched at IBM Connect a new big appathon, which are actually 2 social app dev contests at the same time. One for IBM Connections and one for XPages. And in both of these contests, you can win $5 of $1,000. These contests are sponsored by Time to Act Group, by WebGate, and by IBM Developer Works. And you can still participate. There's, I think, 6, maybe 7 weeks left until June 23rd. You can read here the criteria. And in addition to the monetary prizes, we will also help to promote your projects by doing blog entries, creating screenshots and videos, and so forth. Now, some more details about the different contests. So let's start with the first one, the IBM Connections Active contest. This is the first time we have a dedicated contest to IBM Connections application development. In the last contest, we also had a connections category, but this time we basically open it up and say you can contribute any open source code that leverages connections in any way. This can either mean you build your own custom application that accesses IBM Connections as an infrastructure, for example, by using the REST APIs. Or you can just build extensions to IBM Connections, for example, Open Social Gadgets. Right? So the rule here is that as long as it's in some way related to IBM Connections, it will qualify. What I personally would like to see, though, is the usage of the new Social Business Toolkit SDK, which makes it really easy to access IBM Connections using Java and JavaScript APIs rather than low-level REST APIs and add-in parsing and so forth. Now, in order to make that easy for developers, especially for developers who haven't used Connections yet, we are providing a couple of different options, a couple of different Connections test environments. For example, you can use IBM Connections deployed on IBM Greenhouse. Everyone can just register and play around with IBM Connections, and you can use the SDK to program against it. You cannot, however, use the Greenhouse version of Connections to deploy your own gadgets because you won't get full admin access. Now, if you want to do that, we also provide images. First of all, we have so-called Epithon image, which is a shared image on the IBM Smart Cloud that everyone can use for free. So if you are interested, just contact me and I will send you all the access information you need, and you will get full admin access and can really do whatever you want with that image. The image contains IBM Connections 4, Domino, 853, the latest extension library. It also has the Playground pre-installed, the SDK, a couple of samples, etc. So if nothing else, you can use it to really learn how to access Connections, for example, from XPages or other types of development platforms. And as of this week, well, last week actually, we also made another image available in the IBM Smart Cloud, which you can get or buy actually on IBM Smart Cloud, and this will be then an individual image. So again, the Epithon image is a shared version. If you want to have your own one, you can use now the new so-called collaboration quick start image version 2 on the IBM Smart Cloud. So that's a little bit of detail about the IBM Connections AppDev Contest, and now some more information about the XPages AppDev Contest. Now, this one is kind of similar to the previous ones, to the previous contests, but it's a little bit more open or generic. Essentially, we allow everything that is related to Domino app dev that uses modern technologies like XPages or OSGI bundles, your own extension libraries, dots, tasklets, etc. So all these things will qualify, not only the pure XPages or XPages controls. And we will validate these contributions on Domino 853 and or Domino 9. So I hope you are interested, especially for the IBM Connections AppDev Contest. I would really like to see some more contributions. We have already received quite a lot of good contributions for the XPages Contest. And again, we're waiting for people to start also using Connections and maybe in combination with XPages, because again, XPages developers can also participate in the Connections Contest, obviously. So that was my part about the contests. Now, in the last contest, one of the winners was a project called Forms and Views from Jesse Gallagher. And Jesse is actually demonstrating and talking about that project right now. Jesse?
Hi, my name is Jesse Gallagher. I'm the CTO of I Know Some Guys, which is a development consulting company, obviously primarily Domino related. I was an IBM champion for this year. You can view my website at frostilic.us. My email is pretty similar to that, and is my Twitter handle. I like to blog about general Domino things there. And I would also like to demonstrate Forms and Views, which is an application I wrote last year. The general idea of it is that it's kind of like a designer light for the web. There have been plenty of times when I want to just make quick changes to forms and views, but also style sheets and eventually other things. And I don't have designer handy, like on my machine, or I just don't want to fire up Windows. And so I started focusing on just like, all right, what can I do? And it's also good as a new way to look at forms, particularly where traditionally forms were, all the UI stuff. But when you're dealing with XPages, if you're going to be using backing forms, you really only care about the data definition. So the editor in Designer is not really geared towards that, and so I figured I'd try out a new way to look at forms just as a way to define schemas, basically. So I figured I'd use this as a way to do that, and also as a way to try out some new development techniques in XPages. Like if you download the application and look at the code, you can see there's a single XPage with many custom controls that are added dynamically to a Dojo table. It's all using Dojo's layout, which is something that I've done similar things in the past, but I wanted to try out with Dojo specifically, and I figured it was a good experiment and thing to learn with development. Not everything is going to be a one UI notes modernization application. And so if I could get speaker rights, I can share there we go. Sharing. Just want to share my application here, so that'll load up. All right, hopefully you can see the browser window with forms and views loaded up. I have a basic playground application I added, and I added a Domino directory database. And as you can see, it's basically very, very much taken from the gist of the Designer UI. You've got your applications on the left, and you've got your tabs here for editing each individual thing. If you look, here's all the views that are in a names database. There's quite a few. I'll just pick this one, and there's a lot of stuff. You can see that this is basically focused very much on, I want columns and I want the formula that defines them. Normally it would be a little less complicated than the names database, but it does provide a good example. You can reorder it, and you can change the sorting here. This is, and then there's some extra things, some of the extra view options. So basically, like I was saying, the idea is focused entirely on the structure of the data, which is what you care about if you're using XPages. Like, you no longer care about the UI of a form or the styling of a view too much. You care about categorization, you care about sorting, and you care about the data, but you don't really care about what it looks like because you're no longer doing that. And so this is a way to focus on that and focus more on just like the supporting elements of XPages. I would love to have this be able to edit XPages themselves, but those are problematic in a couple of ways. I have some ideas for related things I can do, but that's for future versions. I have some decent ideas. And you can also edit styles. You see, I have a extremely beautiful web design here. This would probably look great. I think it would look in Firefox. I don't know if they still do Blink, but it uses a nice syntax highlighting. I think I got this from the XPages Bazaar project, which you should check out if you have not. It's a very, very interesting project. I think that uses syntax highlighter, which is a very handy tool. It supports a number of languages, and it provides a nice text editor, essentially, on the web. And so, if you've used Designer before, you get the idea of how this works. You can go through all the various forms and views. I added folders because they're basically views and style sheets, and it's basically just a very quick way to do some of the Designer tasks without having to actually load up Designer. I think I'll go back to the slide. And then after this, I had a couple slides that were for just showing some screenshots, just in case the video didn't work, but it did. So future direction. I have a couple ideas. One is fewer bugs. That's always a good idea. But I do want to eventually expand this into a full-on kind of Designer replacement because, Designer does its job, but for a lot of things, for some things you're going to really need it if you're getting really in-depth with a lot of Java things and a lot of XPages development. But for other uses, you don't necessarily need it. And if you're working, say you're the primary developer, but you're also working with the designer who will want to access the style sheets, essentially, and image resources and things like that. And you can use this to split up views without also introducing them to Designer, and I'll be able to make it so that you can essentially escalate their privileges. But one of the cool side benefits that's come up recently is that I'm working on, in the org OpenNTF Domino API, I'm working on a new design API, and essentially I want to use Forms and Views as the primary consumer of that. So it'll be a new way to do modifying design elements in code, and so this will be a good showcase for that thing. So as I add new elements to the design API, I can also add them to Forms and Views and bring the code back and forth and enhance the two in tandem. And I personally am very excited about that, and I think that the whole org OpenNTF Domino API is very exciting, and the design one is my current project, and I'm very interested in that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Tanner. Hope you can hear me. And my background is excuse me. I was worked for Object Technology International, which was bought by IBM about 10 years ago. No, nearly 20 years ago. And that's the part of IBM that was responsible for the Java Virtual Machine and for Eclipse. And so we worked on the beginning of Eclipse, and setting Eclipse up. And then since then, I've worked on other open source organizations such as Open Health Tools, which is in some ways a spin-off of Eclipse. Anyway, we can move on to the next slide. When IBM got sort of more involved with OpenNTF back in 2009, we discussed a lot with people like Bruce and Nathan Freeman and John Head and what we wanted in an IP policy, intellectual property policy. Because up to that point, people basically could post code onto OpenNTF under any license or no license at all. And by the way, when there's no license at all, that means there's no permission to use the code, and that's puts things into a very legally ambiguous situation. And so, to be taken seriously, we wanted to move closer to an Eclipse or Apache type reputation than a SourceForge, anything goes kind of reputation. And there were members of the community who wanted to use GPL, so we decided to have basically a hybrid approach where we could use Eclipse and we could use Apache license or GPL license. Next slide. So the policy that we ended up with after several discussions with the community, was that all contributors had to be covered by an individual contribution license agreement or a corporate contribution license agreement with no exceptions. We use the Apache model. This is pretty standard, whether an Apache or Eclipse or whatever. All contributions had to be under either Apache or one of the GPL3 family of licenses. There are some exceptions. For example, if you have some code that uses Eclipse code, EPL is slightly viral, and so we would allow you to maintain the use of the Eclipse public license. Or if you using GPL, some code that's GPL2. GPL2 and GPL3 are not compatible, which is a total pain. So we would allow you to use the GPL2 license in that situation. All contributions, when they get posted, are started out as not cleared. And then, if people want, but generally I go in and poke around and I check out a lot of the new contributions. And if I can clear them easily, I'll clear them. And the clearance process, basically, I think I'll talk about that in a second, but it's a scanning process. And a lot of companies will not touch projects unless they've been cleared. They want to have that sort of assurance. It's not a guarantee, but assurance that the IP is probably in reasonably good shape. We're also set up a repository on GitHub under pretty much the same rules as the OpenNTF site, under the same terms of service, and we except the projects on GitHub. Basically, that's where you keep your source, and then you release to OpenNTF. Next slide. Okay, so the clearance process, as I mentioned, we scan using a keyword search tool. This is a tool that IBM has produced for internal use and is licensed through OpenNTF for OpenNTF's work. We make sure that all licenses are compatible. Like I mentioned, GPL2 and GPL3 are not compatible. You can use Apache in a GPL project, a GPL3 project, but not the reverse. It's a complicated, messy situation, and there's no good sort of set of rules that covers everything. We might want to make sure that all the third-party open source you use in your projects is sort of accounted for. You list it so people using your code will know what they're getting into. This is really important, not just for large companies. Large companies are very concerned about it. But if you're a small company and you ever hope to be bought by a large company, you've got to take care of this. Because when large companies buy small companies, if their code is a mess, if their code is using third-party code with incompatible licenses, the large company is not going to want it. There are examples of very famous examples where Cisco bought the Linksys that had code that was inappropriately using GPL, and they had to basically open source the whole driver code. Anyway, so you got to deal with this stuff appropriately. We also have a committer to make sure that the code runs and there is some sort of documentation. We have a policy on when we will take code down from the site. It's very infrequent. We will take code down if we receive a request under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That's the U.S. law that basically counters piracy. And that has never happened, actually. No one has actually sent us an official notification under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. We will, if the code is using proprietary code without permission, that's something we will take the code down for. If there's incompatibility in licenses, we'll just go back to the developer and talk to the developer and see if the developer can fix things. Okay. And the problems that we notice, problems that people who've contributed code, and I've gone back to them with issues, is that the licenses, there may be missing or incomplete license or notice information. There's incompatible licenses, as I mentioned before. Blog postings. Blog postings can be a real pain because an awful lot of bloggers do not say, they'll put some code up there, but they don't say if you can use it or not. And then technically, legally, that means you can't use it. If someone posts a photograph in their website, that doesn't mean you can go and reproduce that photo. It's the same law for code. So people who blog really should have a little note in their footer saying any code published on my blog is available to you under Apache 2.0 license, or some words to that effect, preferably a license like Apache's that just makes it available for people to use. Or a simple line saying that the code is available for use in any manner whatsoever. Because without that, it causes problems for people like me. There are issues where people have included URLs that are only accessible within their company, or they've included personal information like a list of emails, which they didn't really mean to open source, or they did not include all the source code for their project. And you do need to include all the source code for your project so that somebody else can rebuild it, or that there's a requirement for proprietary code. Next slide. One thing we've noticed, this is the current status, is that about 95% or even more are the submissions are under Apache, which I believe is a good thing because GPL is a much more restrictive license and makes it very difficult to use GPL code in commercial projects. Most submissions, the submissions have gotten better and better in terms of having no issues. people who are contributing sort of understand the issues more and more, and I believe that's resulting in giving us a reputation for having safe and sort of responsible, rigorously checked out code. And so feel free to contact me with any questions about your submissions. And as Pierre says, that all code samples, put a good comment on the chat there, that for your blog, if you just put a little thing saying all code samples and downloads are licensed under Apache License 2.0, it makes life very much easier for other people. Next person. Ruth?
Sorry about that. I am here. Hey, I told you I'd be back, and I think the discussions that Niklas gave, and Pierre, and Sadar, and Peter are just, and Jesse are just examples of what the community does, right, for the world of IBM collaboration solutions, right? OpenNTF is, the carrier, right? The carrier of the code, the common carrier of the code, the messaging, and the communication between, developers. And if there's anything that you'd like to see, as part of OpenNTF or, a service, then you need to speak up, right? We have email addresses, we have Twitter accounts, and we're always looking for help. One of the things that I've seen over the years is, while a lot of people say they want to help, not as many helpers say that they want to help. And it would be really great that if you are interested and you could spare some cycles, right, then you could, maybe contribute your own projects or your own snippets, or maybe help out like Jesse did with some of the Collaboration Today work or some of the other work that some people did on the XSnippets project that Sadar talked about before. You form these new bonds and these new relationships with other developers across the world, and it's invaluable. It's invaluable from the standpoint that, first of all, you get to work with some really talented people, and you get to, walk amongst, giants. Some of these people, I'm privileged to work with someone like Jesse, honestly, because I've learned a lot. From Jesse. I've learned a lot from Pierre, Sadar, Niklas, everyone that contributes to OpenNTF. And also all the code I learned from, all the code, whether it's Mark Lusnick's XPages, toolbar, or any, like Tony McGuckin from IBM's XSnippet on the XPages lifecycle. There's just tons of ways to get engaged. Just one more example. Tony McGuckin from IBM posted a great example on the XPages lifecycle on XSnippets.info, and I was having a problem. So what did I do? I believe I tweeted Tony, and he got right back to me and explained why he did something a certain way. A lot of times you'll get code, and no one writes perfect code except for Jesse and Pierre and Sadar, but you need to report defects, right? Or if there's something you or your organization want to see as part of the particular application or code snippet you downloaded, then log a defect, right? Or log a feature request, right? Let's see. Rate projects and comment on blogs when you can. You may grumble to yourself that something doesn't work or something, or we've seen tweets every once in a while where people grumble on a tweet, but hey, put it somewhere where it's visible, right? In a project or on XSnippets or somewhere. Just don't, log it, make it be seeable by everybody. Okay. We have a lot of committees on OpenNTF. And sometimes some of those committees can run a little bit sparse. And if you, again, have some cycles, even if it's like 15 minutes a week, let us know. We could really, really use the help. If you're a business partner, okay, become a member company, okay? Become a member company, and that's something that's available on the website. And if you're a business partner who wants to get the word out about your particular product or service, OpenNTF is an excellent way to get that message out there. It really is. I mean, we're probably the most frequented Notes and Domino ICS site on the planet, for that matter. I'm not sure about Mars, but we definitely get a lot of hits, and there's the people who are downloading stuff are for the most part coders, right? So think about that. Okay, we have information about advertising on the OpenNTF site, and we'll blog about it again. Okay, let's see. If you want to follow OpenNTF, if you're into that social thing, right? Well, if you're not into that social thing, then start with OpenNTF.org, which I think many of you know about, right? And then, of course, the front page has a blog, the latest blog entries on it, or you could just shortcut it at blog.openntf.org. I also saw in the chat that many of you are, already engaged with collaborationtoday.info. Again, curated news on all things IBM collaboration solutions. You're not going to find any stories about Niklas's new pony or Serdar's new iPhone, okay? It's not going to show up on collaborationtoday.info. It's the site you can give your CXO, okay? Even your CEO, for that matter, okay? It's got really relevant quality content, okay? XPages, new to XPages, that's the place to go. XPages.info, videos, resources, Stack Overflow, you name it, it's there, okay? Again, many of you in the chat also said that you were visiting XPages.info. Okay, Twitter, for those of you who have Twitter or don't have Twitter for that matter, you can follow OpenNTF. We have a lot of handles on Twitter, right? The main OpenNTF activity stream, right, is at OpenNTF. If you want to follow project releases, right, you can follow at OpenNTF Projects. That's an auto-tweet feature that reads the RSS feed from the project system. If you want to follow new snippets that get posted to XSnippets, right, say you're not old school in it with RSS and you're using Twitter, use XSnippets, right, at XSnippets. And then, of course, to follow the curated news on Twitter, at Collab Today. Okay, if you have a resource like a blog or something that's not being picked up by Collaboration Today, let us know. Maybe it's an IBM site, maybe it's other type of Enterprise 2.0 or website. Let us know, and we'll consider putting some of that content up there. Also, if you want to be involved and help be a curator on Collaboration Today, let us know. Okay, we can definitely accommodate community members. Okay, to be able to participate and help manage and curate content on Collaboration Today. And for those of you who are still using RSS, like I do, we have a couple of feeds. There's one for Collaboration Today and one for the blog, okay? So we'll post those. And then, as I said before, the YouTube channel. If you want to watch one of the many videos posted by OpenNTF that Niklas and other community members post, that's the place to go. We have our own YouTube channel. And GitHub, we have our own spot on GitHub, github.com/OpenNTF. Head on over there to see a whole bunch of projects. Okay, let's see. Are we ready to carry on with the closure here? I'm going to check the chat.
Yes, we are.
Oh, yep. Oh, okay. Niklas, do we have an opportunity to field questions from the audience?
Yeah, everyone who has a question, please just type it into the chat in the e-meeting, or if you have dialed in via the conference call, press *6 to unmute yourself. So again, that's *6 to unmute yourself if you have dialed in using the conference number.
There has to be an obligatory question, so we're waiting for someone to ask a question. All right, we'll pick on Mark Roden. Mark, can you ask a question? I guess picking on Mark is not going to work. So I guess we don't have any questions, do we? All right, well, I'll consider that a wrap for the first ever OpenNTF webinar. We hope you have enjoyed the information today, and we have a couple of others planned, don't we, Niklas?
Yes, we have one more planned for the first Tuesday in June, and that one will be about XPages getting started, and the speakers will be David Leedy and Mark Roden.
Okay. Excellent. So stay tuned to the OpenNTF blog and the OpenNTF Twitter account to learn about all things OpenNTF, and we really appreciate everything everyone's done in the community surrounding Notes Domino, IBM Collaboration Solutions, IBM Connections, etc., because it's you guys make the working in this community, right, developing and continuing to develop great solutions around all these technologies through open source amazing. So that's it. Take care, and we'll talk to you guys on the next webinar.